Hey Brian, if you're watching this, tell me if you could see me and hear my audio. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. It looks like everyone can hear me. And I'm getting kudos from the hubby. Hi. How cute. Yay for all of the supportive partners out there. All right, now I just want to make sure that I'm going to be able to see when you guys write me so that I see Mary has checked in. Perfect. Because I can't see what you guys are seeing on your screen, but I do have my chat open, and then I also have the event page open so that if you have questions, I should be able to see you write me on one of those. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to stall for just maybe one more minute while I post this link everywhere so that I make sure that no one is left out. I'm so excited, and I'm really appreciative for all of you who are joining me live. And then for those that are seeing the recording of this, you'll have all of the links as well, all of the links that I share with everyone that's live here. So I'm just going to post this in a few Facebook areas, and then we will get started. One of the topics we're going to talk about today is working alone. I know that it would be really, really nice right now to have an assistant, someone that could post this link for me so that I could totally be the talent and focus in on you guys. But you're at least getting to see how you could multitask and work by yourself when doing things like this, like doing a live event like I'm doing here. Get to see behind the scenes of what it's like to work alone. One more. Alrighty, at this point, I think everyone can see what's happening. Now, if anyone is in the chat area, if anyone has the chat open in the event page or their Google Hangout, it'd be really awesome if you could write something in the chat. And if not, no worries. I just want to make sure that if someone asks a question, I can see it. Okay, cool. It is 3:03, and I promise we're going to get started at 3 o'clock, so forgive me for being 3 minutes late. My name is Lisette Markham, and I am an artist entrepreneur who helps other heart-centered entrepreneurs share their gifts and their services with the world online. And you can find me at simplyartworld.com. And I'm going to pop that link in to one of the showcase links. Forgive me if I'm looking over here too. I want to make sure that anyone that wanted to join me live can get on okay. And I see that a few people are having difficulties. So I'm doing the troubleshooting too and making sure that they can get on. So again, my name is Lisette, and you are joining me here for my first official hangout for my new membership called the World Membership. And I'm super, super excited because I plan on doing this type of hangout where I share resources and inspiration and pretty much just hang out casually like we're doing here once a month for my members. But I decided that I wanted to open up this hangout because it was really important to me to, one, of course, get to know my current charter members, which I'm so super excited to have joining me and watching this recording. but it was also important to give those that are thinking about joining my membership a little taste of the resources and the inspiration that I can give and that my company represents when it comes to business, creativity, and what I like to call living life artfully, which is the lifestyle that I try to embrace. So I was thinking about things that I could talk about in today's Hangout. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was video. And I thought, well, video seems quite advanced. So if I do video, then I have to talk about websites. And if I talk about websites, knowing my audience, I'm probably going to have to touch on what it's like to work alone, because most of you may be in the same boat as many entrepreneurs, where you are starting a business or you are building a really strong business all by yourself. So I just noticed that my Mac is running low on battery, and I totally forgot to plug it in, which is one of the things that was on my checklist. So I'm going to plug it in and then be with you guys in just a second. Woohoo! All right. We're plugged in, power's good, and that gave me a minute to like get up and shake it off. It's always nervous when you start live events. If any of you out there have done a live event, it's quite nerve-wracking. Okay. Making sure everyone can see it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what I decided to do is actually use this Hangout to talk about what I call the big scary three, which is websites, video, and working alone. And it was really neat because when I threw it out there to one of my entrepreneurial communities, someone said, well, I'm really curious and interested to see how you're going to fit in 3 such large topics within an hour. And I thought, yeah, I'd be curious too, right? Like, how can you tackle 3 ginormous topics? And so I wanted to share with you how I'm actually going to do that. These are definitely 3 big topics: websites, video, and working alone, that could take, you know, tons and tons of time to talk about. But the really good thing is that I've been creating content for quite a bit of time, and I have lived, eat, and breathe websites, videos, and working alone and sharing my gifts and services with the world for quite some time. So I have like this massive collection of resources and this massive collection of writings about the topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly talk about each one, but then just give you all of these resources so that you could read further. So we're going to start with the first one, which is websites. Now, for some of you, you may have existing websites, or you may be in the situation where you're thinking about building a website or starting your online presence, but not sure what to do. So I have actually created a very, very in-depth video that I've titled Things to Consider Before Building a Website. So instead of repeating that in this Google Hangout here, I'm going to link to that video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in what Google Hangouts calls the showcase. And if you're watching this on the event page, you're going to see it. If you're watching a recording of this, it will be below or in the email, but somewhere you will get this link so that you could see where I give some tips and tricks, very long video, but super, super juicy, about things to consider before you build a website. If you have an existing website, it's still a good read or a good watch, because I have both a blog post and a video, because it may help you improve your website. So let me just click on the showcase here, pop this link in for everyone who is interested in checking this video out a little bit later. There we go, about things to consider. And in that video, I break down the things to consider before building a website into 4 pieces. Okay. The first one is content. The second is function. Third is experience. And the fourth one is management. So that's content, function, experience, and management. These are the 4 main things that you want to think about before you build a website, before you redevelop your existing website, or go to improve it. And this also includes the 4 things to consider before you go hire someone. Now, I see someone writing that they're having trouble with audio. So if you can hear me okay, it would be great if you could throw that into the chat. If not, I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that audio is working. I see my 3 little blinking green dots, and that kind of tells me that my audio is on. I'm going to ask the viewer. Okay. So the 4 things to consider before building a website, right? Content, function, experience, and management. I go into great detail in the other video where I share about those. But a basic for these is the content. That's the first and most important thing you want to think about when building or redeveloping or hiring someone for your website. I'm sure you may have heard of the term content is king and maybe not understood what that really means. And what it means is that out of the aesthetics of your website, even out of the function of your website, SEO, all of these other like oblivious weird terms, right? The most important thing is what you're actually sharing, like the actual content that you are sharing with the world online. So I just got a confirmation that the audio is working. Yay for having dual screens, although that could be a little bit distracting, as you could tell. So content being king means that when you're starting to build your website or when you're getting ready to hire someone else to build your website, the time that you need to plan your website is going to be key. And the first thing to plan is the actual content. So if you're wondering what content is, that's the words and the imagery and the media, such as video, that you're going to put onto your website. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a product-based business or a service-based business, you have content to share. You can share about your company, and if you're a solopreneur, you could share about yourself since you are very much most likely the face of your business. You could share about the values of you or your company. You could share, of course, the products, the details, the lifestyle in which the people you are servicing live their lives, right? And why your product or your service could really fulfill an aspect in their lifestyle. This is all content that you should already know that you're going to share before you go hiring someone to build your website or before you go building a website on your own. So the first one, again, is content. And you don't necessarily have to have everything wholeheartedly planned out because perhaps you want to have a blog, right? So it's obviously impossible to know every single blog post that you're going to create before you build a website. But you need to have that base amount of content prepared. Your about page, you need to know what your contact page is going to be. Are you going to share a phone number, just an email address? Have that all ready and then bring that plan that's spell checked and revised and you're happy with it to your developer or have it ready for yourself before you go building your website. The second one is function. And so for these next 3, I'm just going to shorten it up even more because again, you could totally see my video about where I go into great depth about how to think about building a website before you start. So the next one is function, and that's how you want the website to function. Is it a shop? Is it a blog? Is it a combination of both? What does the website need to do? Does it need to make sales? Does it need to educate people? These are all functions, and it's a good idea to know what these things are before you go building or before you hire a web developer, because web developers are most likely going to charge you by the hour. So the more you have planned and the more educated you are, the less time you have to ask of them to do this for you because you've got a good, solid idea of what you're looking for. So the next one is experience. And when I say experience, I don't mean the experience that you have in building a website or hiring a web developer for that matter. The experience I'm talking about when thinking about the things to consider before building a website is the experience you want your users to feel. This is a really, really, really big deal because I'm sure you visited many websites where you're like, oh, I don't know where to click. I'm so confused. how do you buy this, what do you do, and then you give up. So you don't want to do that to your users. You want them, when they come into what I call your online world, right? So when they come onto your online world, you want them to feel welcome. You want them to feel safe, especially if it's a store, right? Because you want them to feel safe to give you their money and that their information is going to be protected. So you want your environment to feel safe and welcoming, and you want them to have a very easy experience. You want the experience on your website to just be very intuitive and very positive. So that is the experience you need to think about before starting to build a website. How do you want your customers or your patrons or your community to feel when they come onto your website? So think about that, because everyone's going to be different before you start. And then the last one to consider is management. So when it comes to website management, you have a couple of options. The very first one is to maintain the website yourself and perhaps build the website yourself. And that's absolutely okay. This may be dependent upon your business budget or resources, or it could just be that it's a passion of yours, right? And it's something that you enjoy doing within your business. So you can, of course, maintain it. Now, the other option is to hire someone to maintain and manage your website after it's been built. Because your website is a living, breathing entity on a very new platform, which is the internet, and it's going to continue to grow because the internet is changing all the time. And so your website isn't this static thing that's just going to be popped up there online and then just be left alone. It's totally something that you have to dedicate time for, right? You want to make sure that you're always SEO friendly and that you're always accessible, and all of these things take time. So you have to think to yourself, am I technically capable, and do I have the time to manage my own website? If that is a oh hell no, then you need to be prepared to find a website that is going to be cost effective to maintain when hiring someone else. And if you have some interest in maintaining your website, but you're not that tech savvy, then it is still possible to find a web developer that's going to build a website so user-friendly on the back end, right? And when I say the back end, it means the part of the website that you control, not the face part of the website that people on the internet see, right? But the back end is the control center where you maintain it. And there are developers that can build this back end to where you can maintain it with little skill. So if that's the route you want to go, I would highly recommend finding a developer that is also going to deliver you a handbook, right? A how-to use your website. So just recapping, those 4 things to consider before building your website is content, and then function, experience, and management. And it's now 3:17, so I don't think we took too long to talk about those. But again, I go into great detail on the other video where I go like full on into what to think about before building a website. And then there's also a handout where you could write down and plan before you start. So we did it, websites. We actually talked about one of the big 3s for websites. But before I skip websites, I actually pulled a couple of questions before this started. So I'm going to pull those up real quick, because a few people had some questions about websites, because I just got so excited because I could talk about this all day. Let's see. I'm going to go into group of Hangout. Alrighty. So a fellow lovely entrepreneur asked, and her name is Wendy Stockton, she asked, what are some simple things one can do to make their site feel cohesive and branded? Now, of course, when she says site, she means website. So what are some simple things someone could do to make their website feel cohesive and branded? So I gave a little bit of thought to that, and I came up with 3 super simple ways to make your overall website, no matter how big it is, no matter how small, and no matter what your budget is, to be cohesive and branded. So the first one is limit yourself to 3 fonts on your website. So it doesn't matter what those 3 fonts are. If you consistently use just 3 fonts on your website, perhaps a header font, a subheader font, and a paragraph font, your website will look overall cohesive. Now, this of course is just a personal rule of thumb because I'm coming from a design background and I don't like to be pinholed into using one font, but you may talk to other web developers or other designers and they may say, no, you stick to 1 or 2 fonts. But for me, I like them all, but I still don't want to be too cluttered in my website. So I think that 3 is like a really good number of fonts to stick with on your website for it to be like overall cohesive. So the second thing I was thinking of ways to, you know, keep your website branded and cohesive is to only use 3 colors, right? So you should have a really, really legible color for your body copy, which is usually some sort of black, right? Not like a pure black, but like black with a little bit of blue, black with a little bit of something. But that's pretty much the font color you should use for your body copy. And again, this is just a rule of thumb. And then the other 2 colors are up to you. It's your aesthetics, it's your brand, but as long as you have just like 3 colors, just like having just 3 fonts throughout your website, it's going to look cohesive. The problem that you start to have is when you throw in every color in the rainbow, which is funny because if you go to Simply Art, I tend to throw in every color of the rainbow. But this is totally one of those do as I say, not as I do type things, which you'll notice if you hang around me enough, I do quite often because I don't like to go by rules of thumb. But it is still a good rule of thumb that I use in some of my other websites. 3 colors, 3 fonts throughout the website, stick to them, and you should be good to go with cohesion. And I also want to say, when speaking about cohesion, is you're never too small to have a branding handbook, right? Never too small. You don't have to be Coca-Cola. You don't have to be Apple to have a branding book that tells you this is what my logo is, this is what my color is, these are the fonts, and it doesn't have to be, a ginormous Bible phone book size thing. It could just be a sheet. For lots of my websites, I have a Google Doc sitting on my computer that has just 1 or 2 pages of all of my colors, right? All of the hex decks or RGBs, right? Which is just the representation of the color online. I have those codes on a page on my computer so that I can pull from them. So even though I'm a solopreneur, I'm doing this by myself, it's still really convenient to have a brand book, for lack of a better word, somewhere for you so that you can pull from, because this is going to really help you stick to your own cohesion and your own brand so that you yourself don't break your brand. And a lot of solopreneurs get really tired, they're working late perhaps, and you don't remember what that color is that you're supposed to use, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's my website, it's going to be this blue. But if you stick to your own rules by having your little brand book, or in my case, a little page, where you're pulling the same colors and the same fonts, your website's going to look cohesive. So another thing that's going to help your website stay branded and cohesive is keeping a library of icons and images or graphics. Now, my favorite place to pull images or purchase images and graphics is Creative Market. And I'm going to throw that link up on the showcase. And again, if you're watching this recorded, you'll see this somewhere. And I'm going to pop in Creative Market, which I want to put in a little disclaimer is an affiliate link. And anytime I get the opportunity to give an affiliate link for any product, I'm going to do it. But you can know that any affiliate link I give, it's because I actually use the product myself and love it. I would never ever share anything that I didn't like, because it goes against my values and it goes against my brand. So any links that I share with you, perhaps they're affiliate links. That one I just gave you to Creative Market is. But again, just know it's totally because I love it, I dig it, and they have an affiliate program, so why not? So Creative Market is where I like to pull icons and graphics, and I like to keep a library, again, on my computer where I keep like a look and feel folder, right? Like this is the look and feel of my website, which in my case, as an example, is very lighthearted, whimsy, sometimes a little folk art, Mexican, Latin type thing, right? Very colorful, very ethnic in patterns. That's my look and feel for at least one of my websites at any given time. And so I keep a folder that maybe perhaps a lookbook, right, of a collection of graphics and images that are cohesive in and of themselves. So when I'm designing a page on the website or I'm doing a blog, whatever I'm doing in my online world, even if it's posting social media, I make sure to pull from that folder so that overall there's like a cohesive nature to my website. So those are the three things: 3 fonts, 3 colors, and then have some sort of folder where you can keep graphics, like a library that you can keep graphics and images. And if you do those 3 things, the 3 fonts, the 3 colors, and the folder of graphics, you will most likely have a cohesive and branded website. So Lindy, that was a little bit long-winded. I apologize, somewhat ad-libbing here, but hopefully that answers your question. And then of course, as always, I am everywhere online and I really dig community. So if you had any more questions or if anything else came up for you after I gave you my answer, feel free to let me know somewhere and I'll get back to you. So one more question for websites, and then I will move on to video, and then my favorite topic, which is working all by yourself. So Tina Davis asks, how do you get traffic to your website? Oh, how do you get traffic to your website? This one I actually didn't get to have a lot of thought on. I just copied and pasted this question, but I love that because I love coming off the top of my head because you're really getting my genuine opinion. So again, how do you get traffic to your website? So the first thing you may think of is, of course, paying to get traffic to your website. And this is only my personal, humble opinion, but I don't enjoy some of the ways that you can pay to get traffic to your website. So I will just barely, maybe at the end of this answer, comment on paying to get traffic. But let's touch on some more like bootstrap ways of marketing and driving traffic to your website. So this first one is going to be a little annoying because it's one of those like obtuse answers, but the biggest thing that you could do to drive traffic to your website is actually set goals and then track everything. Like, and I know that seems so weird, like how in bleep, right? I got to make sure not to cuss on this because I'm totally going to share this everywhere. Note to self, don't curse. And screw it. So how in the fuck are you going to drive traffic to your website by just having goals? But it's really just a mindset thing, and it's really so that every action that you step to drive traffic to your website isn't going to, you know, just be for nothing. Like, you actually have goals. So before trying to drive traffic to your website, set a goal of how many people you want visiting your website, how many people you want visiting your social media that's going to lead back to your website. Set all of these goals. And then every single thing you do online, everything you do, from your social media to your blog posts to your newsletters, track them and see which ones are actually driving traffic to your website. I use Google Analytics, but there are lots of other services, both paid and free, that you can use on your website to track where your traffic is coming from to your website. So when tracking your traffic, you also want to think about you know, the ventures that you're taking. If you're being interviewed anywhere, if you're collaborating with anyone, if your product was, you know, showcased anywhere or your service was mentioned, you need to know which one of these are being fruitful. So for instance, if someone has done an interview with me, right, and I'm expecting a certain amount of traffic from that interview. So I know tomorrow my interview is going live on suchandsuch.com. I've set a goal based on how many followers they have, right? Of how many people I really want visiting my website within, you know, whatever time frame that is after my interview is launched. Okay, so that's the goal, is knowing what their followers are and just a guesstimate of how many people I really hope visit my website. Now I go in after it's died down, after it's now tomorrow, and the interview has gone live, and now I want to see, did anyone really actually visit my website from this person's, from their website? And it'll tell me, Google Analytics will tell me, such and such website actually drove this much traffic from this date to this date to your website. And that's going to tell me if that interview was actually fruitful. Did I get any traffic to my website because of this interview? And the reason why you want to set these goals and track is because if this person asks me later on to give another interview, it may not be worth my time. And as a solopreneur, time, of course, any entrepreneur, but especially a solopreneur, time is super, super important, and you have to be stingy with it. And so if an interview or a social media platform, if these things are taking up time but not driving traffic to your website, then you really have to revisit and think about resetting your goals and resetting your actions, because it may not be something that you want to repeat. So yes, set goals, track everything. That's how you drive traffic. And again, I know that's not like a, like a cause, and it's not a direct cause and effect. Like if you set goals, you're going to get traffic, but it really is like the foundation when you're really thinking about, okay, my website's awesome. Now it's time to drive traffic. So another thing that you could do is, and I'm looking at my notes here, is to build your website correctly. And again, this is another one that isn't going to be like cause and effect, but building your website is going to be another foundation that most people don't think about when they think about the traffic coming to their website. They don't actually think about the code. I know I didn't, right? I started out in print, and then very gradually sort of dove more into web, right? As like the industry changed since I was in school to where I am now through my corporate years and now as a solopreneur. But being in print and being a designer, I didn't think about the actual code that went into a website. So when I say build a website correctly, or make sure you have someone to help you build a website correctly, I mean that everything is just done in a way that search engines like Google like. And that is like a whole hour in and of itself. So you may be thinking like, well, what in the hell do you mean by that? And I could go into detail on that perhaps maybe in another Hangout. But just know that when you're sitting down with your web developer, you could already be thinking web traffic, and you could be thinking to yourself, Lisette said, build my shit right, because it's going to help my search engine results later on down the road. And of course, good search engine results is going to help increase your traffic. So build your website right, care about the damn code, even though it's ugly, black and white on the screen. Care about that stuff, because it's really going to help drive traffic to your website if your website is built correctly so that search engines enjoy finding content on your website. So what's another one? Create interesting and useful content. So it goes back to the content is king. This is how you drive traffic to your website. You actually need to talk about some shit that people want to hear. Like you need to share interesting things. It could be educational. It could be inspiring, which is where I feel some of my expertise is in, and it could just be entertaining, but you want to share content. You want to share videos. You want to diversify your media, right? So, in your blog post, maybe every once in a while throw a video in, maybe every once in a while throw some great images in, but, just really diversify your content and throw good content out there to the world, and it will help get you traffic. Another way to get traffic, which is not easy, but super important, and that's to get press. Being online, you could talk all you want, but you'll notice that sometimes you're just talking in a vacuum, that you're just talking to yourself. The real way to get traffic to your website is to have other people talking about you. And so just like in print, online is no different. You want press. You want other websites talking about you. You want your products showed in other places. You want your services talked about in other ways, but you want other people to talk to you. And you don't have to be a ginormous company to get this accomplished. You have to do good old-fashioned networking and good old-fashioned reaching out to people and just make connections, whether that's online or in person. Make these connections so that other people get to know you and want to share. Make it easy for people. Reach out to people with ideas instead of just saying, hey, will you talk about me in social media, or hey, will you talk about me on your website? But actually have some content ready that that person would want to share. Have it prepared for them, and then email them, call them, contact them in some way, and just see if you could drive up some press, because other people talking about you in the world online is going to drive traffic to your websites, but you're not just sitting there talking to yourself. And nobody likes that, because I'm sure we've all been there. And so that leads me to the last one, which is ad space and paying someone for SEO, right? Which may be, a more common way that you think about driving traffic to your website. Now, I don't think that these things are evil by any means, not at all. In fact, I've paid for ad space, and I do believe that paying for SEO is a good thing if you're at that point in your business. You can pay someone to do SEO for you. However, I always like to caution. I always like to caution people thinking about paying for ad space or thinking about paying someone the big bucks to help them with their SEO, right? How they're received in search engines. And I always like to say that the industry overall, like the SEO industry overall, is an industry to walk in very educated, very confident, and very cautious. So, off the top of my head, being very stereotypical here, the industry of, what are they called? The people that help you with your cars, they fix cars. What the hell is that called? The auto industry. And the auto industry, yes, the auto industry is something that you need to really be educated in before you go to get your car fixed or before you go to buy a car, because you're working with salesmen, right? And you're working with sometimes sleazy tactics. So my only advice is, if you're thinking about driving traffic using ad space or paying someone to optimize your website for SEO and do all that good stuff, is just to be as educated as you possibly can, and make sure that you go in very cautiously and know who you're hiring, and make sure that you always have your goals in mind, right? Set the expectations with who you're hiring, or set the expectations for yourself. So if you say to yourself, I'm totally going to purchase this Facebook ad, or I'm totally going to purchase this ad on so-and-so's website because their people are my people and I think this is going to be good. Set your goals, track the results, and if it isn't working, then don't do it again. Simple as that. You just have to try, but be cautious at the same time. So hopefully that answers Tina, your website question about driving traffic. And then before I leave websites, I'm going to throw all of these links, right, just so that you have them somewhere. But if anyone's curious about what some of my favorite website sites are, I prefer the platform WordPress. When it comes to my favorite e-commerce, I prefer the website Shopify. And what else? Templates. I love buying templates on, who are they? ThemeForest, yes, and I'll pop all these links in. ThemeForest is my favorite place to buy templates, although I've only purchased their WordPress templates and maybe an email template or two, but I love their templates. Any website that's going to show you reviews of other users, go for it, but ThemeForest is one of my favorites. And then of course I shared with you that my favorite place to get graphics is Creative Market. So that's it, there's websites. I told you I could talk all day. I'm totally trying to watch my time to make sure that I don't miss talking about video and working alone. So I've got 20 minutes, so let's see if I can do it. I naturally talk fast, so I'm trying to slow myself down. Okay, video. So video, like websites, could be quite scary and intimidating. Whether you're super techie or you're not techie, it could just be scary. So I created a self-study course that I call Dare to Share Video Training. Now, it is a $300 course, which is a little bit on the pricey side, but don't feel bad if you can't get it, because I have so many other resources, kind of thrown throughout my website throughout the years, right, where I've written about video and how to overcome fears of video, how to use it for your business, how to really capitalize on video. But those are all like throughout my website. But if you really want like a hyper-focused, I organized it all for you so you don't have to go searching my website or YouTube or other websites, that's my course. And the really cool thing is at the beginning, if you missed it, this is the first official Hangout of my world membership. So everyone that's already charter members, that's watching this now, of course, my charter members. Hi, charter members, so excited. Charter members have access to that course and all of my courses for that matter because they're charter members. And currently I have a pay what you want promotion for entry to be a charter member in my world membership. And I believe I have that sale ending at the end of this month. I don't know what day it is. I think you got like 3 days left. I'll make sure to put the link in, but you could literally pay me what you want to become a charter member and unlock my Dare to Share video training series, all of my online self-study courses, some other digital goodies, and then most importantly, you get to hang out with me every month and get all of these resources that I just constantly give all the time and be a part of my membership and my CynthiaArt community and all of that good jazz. So if you are not a charter member and you don't choose to purchase that or the Dare to Share, what advice could I give someone that is looking to do video but is scared? I have a couple of things. The first thing is if you have not done video but you're interested, I would always recommend, and I say this all the time, but it's to use the equipment you have. That could be the camera on your computer, like I'm doing here. It can be the camera on your phone. It could be whatever home video camera you've got. I would suggest if you're looking to get into video and start to like implement video into your marketing and your business strategy is to just use the equipment you have. And if you don't have any equipment, like you don't even have you have nothing. Your computer doesn't have a camera, you don't have a smartphone, then I would suggest renting equipment before going and purchasing equipment for video, because video equipment is quite pricey. Video is one of the more expensive mediums to implement into your marketing strategy. Well worth it, but one of the more expensive strategies. And so I'm going to also provide a link to where you can rent video equipment. So the next thing I would probably tell someone that is looking to do video is to, and that's a little shy to be in front of the camera, which is totally normal, is to practice being in front of the camera without sharing. So what I mean by that is if you're truly, truly terrified of being on camera, don't even turn it on. Just point the camera at you, point whatever you've got, your phone or your camera, point it at you and just talk. And it's crazy, the feelings that come up, that the camera's not even on and yet maybe you start to sweat or you get nervous, that flight or fight emotion starts to come over you. It's hilarious, but you'll get through it. Keep talking to the camera until that nervousness goes away. And then the second step, once you're okay with talking to the camera, is to hit record. The scariest thing is to get used to that damn blinking red light. But if you and that red light that signifies that your video is recording can become best friends, you'll be like a video vixen before you know it. So hit record and just talk. Talk about anything, talk about your day, talk about why you went into business for yourself, talk about what makes you passionate about your services and your products and what you share with the world and all of your gifts. Just talk. And then hit stop and delete it. That's it. Learn to let go. Just delete it. Don't even share it. And the next step would be to share it with loved ones. Share it with your partner. Share it with your best friend. Share it with someone that isn't going to make fun of you, or if they do make fun of you, does it in good humor. Share it with someone. Share it with the business community. Share it with anyone that you feel safe with. And then the final step, once you're comfortable with actually sharing your videos with loved ones, is to start to share it with your community. And I know that that's a big step to start to share with your community and your patrons, your customers alike, but it's well worth it. It really gives your community and your customers a sense of who you are and what your products are. And if truly your brand does not dictate or allow you to be in the video, like you're truly not the face of your company, then showcase your products and your services proudly on video. You don't necessarily have to be the face on the camera. There are other ways to have videos implemented into your business. So I know it's one of the big scary 3, like websites, because it's unknown, but just start off slow, baby steps, get help, get resources. I have plenty. And you'll start, it won't be scary once you start, because it'll no longer be the unknown big scary thing that it was when you first started. And like I said, before you know it, you'll be seeing the like red blinking light in your sleep. You'll wake up excited to see the red blinking light because you just love sharing that much, and it just happens to be looking at a camera. Okay, what is my last topic? I've been talking so long that I forgot. Working alone. That's right, it's my favorite one. But before we talk about working alone, I just want to make sure that everyone is doing okay. I totally don't think that my chat is working. So you guys might be totally trying to talk to me right now. Like, Lizette, I can't see you. Lizette, your shirt's unbuttoned. And I can't see where you guys are talking to me. But that's okay. Hopefully the couple of people that I see are live are enjoying this nonetheless. All right, so working alone. I got to breathe on that one. Rip down my headphone, hold on. I get emotional when I talk about working alone. And I'm sure many of you solopreneurs out there find it a very sore topic to talk about. So I'm going to share my feelings on working alone and some of the things that I do to sort of like ease, embrace a little bit of ease when it comes to working alone. So for me, in my business of Simply Art, I am a solopreneur. Now that said, I have amazing support from my husband, who is a web developer, very, very talented. Whenever my website is doing some shit and I don't know what it's talking about and I'm pretty damn savvy, I call him in. I call him the big guns, right? But even though I have his support, my day-to-day function and building of my business is me, so solopreneur. And many of you out there may be in similar situations. I also need to preface this with, I have an amazing support system outside of business, which is important. So I have a very supportive family, most of which have no fucking clue what I do on a daily basis. They just know I'm on the computer all the time. She does weird shit. She talks on the camera. You know, she's got like this whole crazy setup and no idea what she's doing, but they're very supportive, and that's super, super important. So I am hoping and wishing you and sending out all these vibes that if you don't have a supportive partner or that you don't have supportive friends or family, that you find some sort of support system to really build, start, or grow your business. So working alone for me, I like to think of it, again, because I have like a printing, graphic design background, I like to think of working alone as being an all-in-one printer, right? So if you're familiar with what an all-in-one printer is, it is a machine that should really only print the shit, but instead we would like this machine to print and fax and copy and scan and do a little dance. We want this machine to like do all this shit. And we want the machine, this all-in-one printer, to do everything perfectly. And what I found as a graphic designer who's worked with lots of home printers, lots of all-in-one printers, is that an all-in-one printer can do everything well, but never does everything perfectly, right? It's only perfect at like one thing and then just kind of like gets by with the rest of the stuff. So it might print really well, but the scanning and the other shit sucks. And that's sometimes how I feel as a solopreneur. I feel like an all-in-one printer where I'm doing so many tasks, so many hats, right? So many different jobs. I don't have job titles in my business, but if I did, I would have them all. And it is my job as the owner of my business to do them all perfectly, and it's impossible. So that's where the all-in-one printer comes from. So how do I combat that feeling that truly it's a guilt, like this guilt that comes over me when I think about being an all-in-one damn printer, where I'm like, shit, why am I not doing everything correctly? Why am I not doing this Google Hangout correctly while simultaneously getting out my e-blast, while simultaneously getting a new client, working on current client projects? You know, why am I not doing all of these things at the same time perfectly, right? I need to be that all-in-one printer that doesn't exist. I say to you, first breathe. It's like, truly breathe. I actually have an app on my phone that tells me to breathe. Don't laugh. I totally see you laughing at me. I have an app that goes off every so often with a little ting that tells me to breathe deep. And truly, it helps, because when I'm really flustered and doing all of these things for my business, it's a really good reminder just to stop and breathe. So after you breathe, right, and all that jazz, right, all that hippie jazz, as I like to lovingly say, then it's still about getting down to business. Like, how do you sustain yourself and how do you build when you're a solopreneur, when you're this all-in-one printer? And there are things that you can do, and there are things that I do to help that. And one of the things that you can do, and I know it sounds luxurious, but it is necessary, is to take a couple of hours to clean your email. Now, knowing the crowd here, right? Knowing my community, you've probably been on a lot of these business calls, and everyone talks about email and how important it is to get your email shit straight. I got to add to it. Take a couple of hours to clean your email. And now what I mean by clean is to unsubscribe to shit that isn't bringing you joy or isn't bringing you entertainment or knowledge. If it's not pretty or useful, then chuck it. So unsubscribe in your email box, create filters. I use Gmail, right? That's like my main source. So every other mail service I have all funnels into my Gmail. And I like Gmail because you can filter, but whatever email provider you're using, most likely they have some sort of filters. Filter your email. So you've unsubscribed, you've deleted shit, and you've filtered your email. The next thing you want to do is actually take time to create canned emails, right? Because a lot of the email that you get can have some canned responses. So it doesn't have to be real cheesy, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be super corporate, but it could be very straightforward answers that you could just copy and paste by being your own virtual assistant and having some files and some set templated emails to send people. You will be amazed at how much time this saves you when you can just copy and paste an email that's relevant to the inquiry that you're getting. So if you're a solopreneur, if you're that all-in-one printer and you work alone, totally take time to clean out your email and get some structure in place. It's 3:52. We are totally rocking this. We're actually going to be like spot on for 4 o'clock. I think I did promise people that they could ask me anything, but I totally can't see the chat. I took a few questions, like I said at the beginning, but no worries. If you had a killer question that you really wanted to have talked about in this Hangout, or a question has come up as I've been jabbing on, you can send me that question and I might answer it in a video, because I love videos. So, but your question will get answered. Whether I type it out or I write a video, your question will get answered. So back to working alone. After you've cleaned out your inbox, the next thing you need to do is to take an hour and actually fix up your working environment. I don't care if you are like the busiest family member in your household and all you have is like that little piece of kitchen table. You need to take some time to arrange your space, your physical space. It's important. This is your office. This is your domain. Behind me is a temporary studio that I have concocted until Simply Art finds its permanent home. And even though this is a temporary place, it was super important for me to be able to function on a daily basis as a solopreneur or working alone, is to have an environment that's conducive to creativity and conducive to working effectively. It has to make me happy. I totally have a candle lit right now. I've got my water, I've got my plant, like it just has to feel good for me to be able to work in it, because I'm working alone and that's a lot of pressure. And working alone can sometimes be sad. So the last thing you want to do is work in a sad environment. You have to totally be happy with the space that you're in. So working alone means that it's super important to find meaningful collaborations and exchanges. So just because you're working alone and there's no one else in your business, you don't have employees and you don't have, whatever, right? You don't have contractors, perhaps you don't have the resources yet to have contractors or bring in employees. It's super important to have those meaningful collaborations with other businesses. It doesn't have to be an apples to apples business. I help people with their world online, but that doesn't mean that I need to go find another online consultant or designer to partner up with. It could be something that, it could be another company or person that's in line with my values, that we can work together to build both of our businesses up and make a little bit of money at the same time and really service our individual communities. That is what I mean by meaningful collaborations. It needs to be mutually beneficial, perhaps finding a person or a business that you could do some list building activities with. That would be a meaningful collaboration. And again, when you're working by yourself and there's so much energy because you're a heart-centered entrepreneur, I know that you're giving everything, every day, all the fucking time. And so it's really important to find someone else that gives that much energy too, so that you could collectively give that energy and you're not so depleted on a daily basis. So please, if you are a solopreneur out there, you have to find these meaningful collaborations so that you could build your business and not in a vacuum. Work with other people, and don't work with other people for the sake of it. Again, the key word is meaningful. People that you can really grow with, and that it's mutually beneficial. And unlike collaborations, there are other ways when you work for yourself, work by yourself. That's the key word, right? We're working alone here. Is to be in an environment with other people. So just because you are a solopreneur and there's no one else vested in your company does not mean you actually have to work alone. There are lots of, I think they call them like cooperatives, right? Which I think of groceries when I hear a co-op or like an apartment, but there are co-op working spaces out there, hopefully somewhere where you live, that you can share a working environment. So there are other entrepreneurs, and all of that entrepreneurial energy is being shared in this one common space. So again, there are these like cooperative spaces that you could find in your local city, hopefully, where people share communal space to do their work. And usually it's just a building with some desks and some chairs, and most importantly for me, internet, right? And you most likely pay, because I have yet to find one that's free, still looking, but you most likely pay a monthly fee to use the facilities and to use the internet. But the really great thing is that you're working with other people that are entrepreneurs, even though they have nothing to do with your business and they're not even in your same industry. Just the fact that you're working with other living, breathing human beings is going to affect how you feel and how you function on a daily basis. Especially, I might add, if you came from an office environment, which I did. After I graduated from school, I went straight into a corporate office. And when I left that corporate office and started working for myself, I certainly didn't miss my boss. I certainly didn't miss my job or my tasks. I didn't miss that. But what I missed is the people. I literally missed the noise of having other human beings walk around me. And so I would play TV, not to distract me, but just to have noise in the background. Play music just to have noise. And now, like I said, there are these cooperative workplaces where you can have the best of both worlds. You could be your own boss, your solopreneur self, and yet still be in a semi-office environment where there's other people, where you can get up and walk to the water cooler and gossip just the way you did when you were working at that 9 to 5. So I would suggest, if you work alone, and if you're feeling bad about working alone, because of course not everyone does, but if in those low moments where you're just like, man, I'm lonely, it really sucks to work alone. I wish I had a partner. I wish I had, people to talk to. I wish I had an employee. I would say work in some sort of collaborative environment. 2 minutes, holy goodness. Okay, another way to help yourself get more at ease with being a solopreneur and working alone while you build or grow your business is to get hyper-focused on the things that actually matter. So like I mentioned at the beginning, you're this all-in-one printer that has to do everything. And the things that you don't want to do, so in my case, what are some things I don't want to do? I don't like fixing my website. So if something breaks, right? Because again, I told you guys that the website changes all the time, right? So if something breaks on my website, I despise fixing it. And like I said, I have an amazing resource, right? He's called my husband and he helps me greatly, but he doesn't always have time to. So there are times when I have to suck it up and fix the shit myself. And I hate it and it's draining, right? So the advice I'm going to give you isn't to say that, you know, you don't have to do that stuff, because you do. You're it. You're the only one printer. You have to do the shit you don't want to do. But you can get hyper-focused on the things that really matter and bring you joy while doing the shit you don't want to do. Okay? So one of the things that you could do, again, goes back to goal setting and tracking, so that you can get hyper-focused on only doing what's bringing you money or what's bringing you joy, right? Because for me, my business is both. My business is money and joy. And the joy is when I actually really give to my community. When I get comments, like I just got a comment the other day that I saved someone from a headache. I hope she's watching. That made my day. She asked me a question. I was able to answer it knowing that it was going to take her hours to probably figure it out. But with, you know, me as a consultant, able to solve that problem and save her time, was able to keep her from a headache. That brings me joy. Did it bring me money? No, don't give a shit. It brought me joy. So for you, get hyper-focused on what brings you joy and what brings you money, and cut the rest of the stuff out. So if you're on social media all the time and it's actually not converting over to sales or bringing you some joy because you're interacting with that community, then cut the shit out. You don't have to do it. It's your business. You don't have to do it just because someone else's business is doing it or it's working for someone else. You don't have to feel guilty that something that's working for someone else's business, or that someone like me or someone else talking about business said to do, if it's not working for you, knock it off. Get hyper-focused on the things that are working for you. And you'll actually feel a little bit better about being that all-in-one printer, working alone, that solopreneur, because you're actually not so drained at the end of the day when you're only doing the stuff that you have to. Yeah, the stuff that brings you joy and the stuff that makes you money. And hopefully the stuff you have to do is in line with making you money. Might not be the joy part, but it's totally making you money. Because if not, why do you have to do it, right? If you don't have to do it, if it's not bringing you money, then you really don't have to do it. So you have to kind of just sit down again, think about your goals. Why are you really doing it? But getting hyper-focused is going to help. So we are now a minute over. No, 2 minutes over. Damn it. We're 2 minutes over. And I'm truly, truly grateful that for the people who I totally see are watching this, I really hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I hope that it gave you just a little bit more when it comes to the big scary 3, which is building or growing your website, or starting video, implementing it into your business, or working alone. Hopefully it wasn't too scattered for you guys, and that is cohesive enough so that you can walk away from this live taping or walk away from the recording, seeing it afterwards, and really feel good and inspired to make a change in your business or keep rocking on in a piece of your business that means so much to you. Thank you guys so much, so much for being with me. Again, every single person that RSVP'd is going to get a copy of this recording, as well as all of the resources that I have shared, including the most important resource, which is the link to my Simply Art World membership, so that you can pay what you want to get in before you have to pay more. So again, thank you guys so much. I love and appreciate you all so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.